You're welcome to yet another episode of our sports preview on Boa Community Voice, proudly sponsored by our friends from Mazbet. It's a wonderful day again, and we'll be discussing the Champions League games that happened with where the Premier League teams had the worst Champions League outing of their life. And with me, I have two great people with me here. The likes of Chiwende, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
C.I. Zura, the Ireland man, welcome to the program. Yeah. But what would we say happened to the Premier League teams in this Champions League? I think it seems to be the worst the worst Champions League game of every Premier League side.
I mean, I want to say that 6 of them qualified automatically. They didn't have to play the playoffs. While teams that had to play the playoffs, like Real Madrid, came in and dealt with one of the favorites in the Premier League. That is Manchester City. It's woeful. I mean, 6 Premier League teams at the end of the day, only 2 survived, and that is Arsenal and Liverpool. Tottenham Hotspur was nowhere to be found. Chelsea,
I feel like
Newcastle, terrible. Manchester City, terrible. The results were not. If it was 1-0, 2-0, we can say, oh, it's something. But I mean, look at Chelsea's results. 8.
I feel like Tottenham even did well
because
they won at home. They were the only English team to have won at home.
Yes.
You understand?
No, Liverpool won at 2.
Liverpool won. Okay, yeah.
But Tottenham redeemed themselves
by winning in terms of.
So we can all agree that it was the first leg, that mistake that they brought in Kekes as the goalkeeper in that game. If he had not been in that game, maybe if he had used Bukayo, maybe that could have been. Like, you want to agree that the mistake was in the first leg.
Let's talk about the PSG and Chelsea. I saw a revenge of what happened in the Club World Cup. A revenge. That 3, they had to give you 3 goals unreplied at home. That was at Stamford Bridge. What happened to the bridge?
The bridge was Stamford Bridge was relocated to Paris Saint-Germain. It was a terrible. I kind of feel like Liam Rossino got it all wrong from the beginning of the first leg to the second, because at a point, I mean, one of the highlights was you were losing almost. I think it was 7-2 at that time, and then Garnacho was coming in, and you were writing notes, and you could see Garnacho that giggle in his mind. Waiting the rights, waiting one go to the again. It's not at all. But I kind of feel like it was overwhelming for Liam Rossino. There was nothing he could have done in that game. PSG were so good from the beginning of the first half to the second half. I thought in the reverse picture of the second leg, Chelsea would have gotten a point at least to put a point, even if they did not qualify. Let them win, just like Tottenham Hotspur. But it's quite unfortunate that PSG was too good for Chelsea. They were too good for Chelsea.
Okay, let's leave the Chelsea game. The Manchester City.
Manchester City against Real Madrid. We used to say that
the first leg, people said the first leg maybe it was because it was at the Bernabeu, but this was Etihad, the home soil of the. When you talk about Manchester City, you talk about a team that has everything working out for them. You understand? They had from the coaching through to the.
I love how Pep was confused at some point in the match. He was just looking lost because he couldn't believe his eyes.
I don't think it has anything to do with Abalua, because I mean, Abalua is not even that fantastic as a coach. I think the players told themselves.
I swear,
we need to
like
do this.
it was good.
We need to prove a point.
We had my guy moving. He scored, and it was an offside, and then in split seconds, the ball is retrieved and he scores again.
But one thing you should understand is that there was a controversial red card. I think they said it's a controversial, but
I don't think.
But for me, I watched it.
That's stopping a
penalty, stopping a goal from entering with you. Yes, you hit your hand behind you, but along the line you brought it out. So for me, I don't think it was controversial.
It was not controversial. He stopped a goal. It's not. It did not do. It's not a stopping a promising attack. It stopped a goal opportunity that could have been a goal. So that's a pure red card. It's not controversial. There's nothing controversial
I feel
about
like
it.
it was a deserving red card.
Yes.
I felt
Because he was the last man. If he was not there, it would have entered
But
into
people
the
say since you were given a penalty, the red card wouldn't have.
now let's bring out
So have been a game rule. You understand?
what is the laws of the game says. There's a law governing football, and when you talk, when you are administering the laws of the game, there's no sentiments, there's no emotions. If Manchester City were losing 10-0 and there was a need for a penalty, they will still give the penalty. You would say referee will not say emotions, and they are losing 10-0, leave them. No, that we can do that in Opokoro League. Let's do that in Opokoro. But we are talking about standard football. There's no sentiment. What does the law say? The law says if you stop a goal scoring chance, a goal scoring opportunity, you will be sent off and a penalty will be awarded. That's what the laws of the game says, and that is what the referee did in that game.
So for me, I think it was a bad day for the English team.
It was a bad game for the English team. I mean,
The worst was
6 and 4 had to find their way home.
And the worst of it all was the one that happened on Wednesday. The Wednesday game. The Newcastle side and the Tottenham side. It was as if the Champions League was meant to be a Spanish team, a Spanish affair.
And I mean, I've always we've sat down here to talk about who is the best league, and I kept saying I kept saying the Spanish league for me is the best league, and all of us say no, marketing wise, projecting wise, the EPL and all that. Now we are playing European football. You always come out and say, when we bring our best leg and you bring your best leg, let's see. Real Madrid is not even doing well in their league, and they came in to that game playing against the Manchester City, who is second on the log. And you know what Manchester City bring to the table? They were nowhere to be found in that. The first and second leg, it was like they were clueless. At the point I was saying, is it to the other side? I think it's
Pep was equally as clueless as the City side, because I saw a Pep who was dumbfounded, like he couldn't believe his eyes. There was goals. Vinicius was on that run on the flank, and then he was almost unstoppable because he positioned. I feel like every Real Madrid player understood the rhythm with Manchester City, knew how to place themselves well, because it was Real Madrid at the point held the midfield, held their defense, and then their attack was mainly from the wings, and those wings was spot on, especially from Vinicius' side. What you just did is give him the ball one way or the other. He throws the ball and then moves to the opposite direction. I feel like it was just a Real Madrid guy.
I kind of feel like what killed Manchester City in the first leg was the defense, the partnership. Maguire has not been able to partner with Ruben Dias, and he decided to try a Kosinov and Ruben Dias. It still did not work. I think for Manchester City now, the partnership, and it could be a disaster for them when they play in the Carabao Cup, because you're talking about a team that don't have that cohesion. The defense is still lacking behind until they get that synergy. Just like Saliba and Saliba and Gabriel, they have that synergy. So it is going to be difficult to play against defenders that have already understood themselves very well. You know when a ball is coming, you go, I stay back. You come, I stay back. So
upside these days.
They understand themselves. So I think that is the problem with Manchester City in that game. And before they could realize what was happening, Real Madrid has done the damage beyond control, and Pep Guardiola himself realized that it is done and dusted. And he humbly accepted it.
When they got the 1-1, when Haaland scored that goal, I think it revived the spirit of Manchester United, Manchester City team. It came back, but along the line, I saw the spirit leave them again. That notwithstanding, but I hope that next outing it will be a better.
So do we now agree that the Spanish league is bigger?
I still don't agree
Premier League. When it comes to quality,
I basically don't, because how many we just have.
Just two Spanish leagues left.
No, chill. When we come to the Spanish league, we just have the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid,
Coming to the party
mention-
every time.
mention of you that comes to the party. The Premier League probably has Tottenham in the Champions League this season, and probably has as well as
Newcastle.
Newcastle in the same Champions League. The next season they are having the likes of what team could I use now? Aston Villa, right? It's always
It's always
very spicy, but we all know that
As spicy
if
as
it
it
is
is,
if
when
it
they
is not
come in, what do they do?
if it is not these three teams, tell me the other teams from the Spanish side that comes into the party and still makes that.
But the most important thing is bring out your best leg, not bringing anybody. Bring out even their best leg. What did they do when they played against Real Madrid?
Their best
Manchester City is not the
See,
best
last season, Arsenal got a win against Manchester City, against
Real Madrid.
and bet me you, they will still play in the next fixture of if they qualify, they will be meeting a Premier League side.
Okay.
If the Premier League side qualifies,
Okay.
so it's,
Let's see how it goes.
see what the line of this fixture for this thing, Madrid takes on Bayern Munich, Sporting takes on Arsenal, Barcelona takes on Atletico Madrid. It's going to be a Spanish team all together there. Then PSG takes Liverpool. Atletico Madrid, PSG takes Liverpool. As what again? Okay, just that's the 4 matches we will play. So if any of this team comes in, and I believe an English team will be playing going into the final. From
And then
either
the
group.
English
Did they-
team-
did
No, I'm not saying
And did the English
And
team
the
play in
English
the
team-
final? Did the English team play in the final last season? Finals.
No, the quarter, they went
They only stopped in the
semi-finals.
semi-finals.
Yes, the semi-finals. So bet me you this time around, that's to tell you that English league is making headway. Playing in the semi-finals.
So
Where was the Spanish league in the last episode of this? They didn't get to
To the finals, of course, yeah.
They didn't get into it, but an English side got into that semi-finals.
Okay.
So let's believe that this season again, an English team. Let's pray it is going to be an English team after this.
So that means you're saying it's going to be Arsenal and
Yeah, it's
Liverpool
going
in
to
the
be
finals.
Arsenal.
Let's just cross our head.
Let Arsenal, let Liverpool first conquer PSG.
Yeah,
We will now see.
which is going to be practically difficult.
No, but they did it last
But then
last
you don't
two
write it
seasons.
out entirely.
They did it last 2 seasons against this SMP, and that was even when
Then
Liverpool.
last season, PSG now dealt with Liverpool
But
and
it's
got to the finals and win.
Yeah, but that's the thing there's always hope. Yeah, this is where we'll call it a day in this program today. Always remember that this program is proudly sponsored by our friends from Mazbet, and this is Boa Community Voice. Adios. God bless.